Hey guys, what's up? This is Brain. So, this time for my next remake presentation of Monkey Ball level pack is Super Monkey Ball Dimensions Remastered, made by me, Brain. It's a redo of Sega the Saga's Dimensions levels. So, first of all, starting with Beginner. This is supposed to be a pretty easy part here. So, let's start with this one. Beginner 4, Arches. Let's see. I think I could start right here. And then this is pretty easy. So first you can go over the arch. There might be some bananas on the corners. I actually don't know, but this arch, this arch is the second one you're going to. And then over the next arch, it's not that steep, but might be able to make it through that one, and then you go this way over the last arch and through the goal. That one is a pretty decent level. Actually, there's a bunch of bananas after you go through the goal over there. So that was a pretty good start on my presentation. So I'm actually good at making those videos. Let's see. Here comes your next one. Here it comes. This next one is Basic Checker, Beginner Extra 1. Let me see. It wouldn't be that hard for Beginner Extra, but let's see. You start right here. You go diagonal crossing, and right here is a bunch of bananas you might get. And, oh, pardon me. Then you're going, continuing on your diagonal crossing. There's a bunch of bananas here. You go the last set of diagonal cross to the goal. That might be a bit tricky when you're doing diagonal crossing. Although, you might like the levels, but you might be able to win it. So, the next one is Beginner 10, Bathmophobia. I wonder what this one would be. Actually, I might know what it looks like from the video made by Sega the Saga. Let's see. You start up here, then you go diagonal across down the steps. This is not a tricky level. I just try to make that a little different from Sega the Saga. That's a decent level I just made right here. And that goal is at the bottom of the stairs. Well, pretty good level, but I think there's actually more. Let's see what else there is. How about Beginner 6, Curvy Way? I think that name is a little different than Rickety Way. I just think that's a curvy path, I'll bet, but let's say you start right here, then you go this way around the curves. I think they're banked curves. Yeah, I guess they are. And the goal is right at the end of that curvy way path. I think that might be a choice, but I'm getting used to making levels, but it's not that hard. Anyway, that was a good level. I like it. Let's see. My next one, here it comes. How about Flower Petals, Beginner Extra 2? This one, I think that's a remake from one of Armac's levels. Actually, that was a pretty good level. Looks kind of different than Armac's level, like I said. You start right here at the top of the flower petals. Then you go down the steps around the flower petals. And then there's a goal right here at the end of this level. And these levels are getting pretty easy for people to play, but that looks pretty different. Actually, I like that one too. Good job for me. So, I think there might be more. Let's find out what else there is. Here it comes. Ready? This looks like a bonus stage I'm looking at here. This is Beginner 5 Pixel Bit. That one is a pretty different style bonus stage I was trying to make, but let's say you're starting right here. Each of the seven squares, they do have 9 bananas in each of those squares. Looks like it's a pixel bit level, like a Nintendo styled pixel game, but it looks a little different. I like seeing some of that stuff in my uh, remake. Actually, I'm doing a pretty good remake or redo of Sega the Saga's Dimensions levels. So, that was a pretty decent level. Oh, by the way, there's a goal right here if you hadn't noticed. So, that's pretty interesting to look at. Okay, here's the next one. Get ready. This next one is Beginner Extra 3 Quiz. I think that might be the first quiz for a beginner level. Maybe that's a beginner extra level, I mean. Let's say you start right here, then you go down this way over the bumps. Right here and here are actually, there's some bunches of bananas right there. Next you go up the hill, then you go left that way, you go up the rails, and then there's another set of rails you can go up to, but then you turn left, up the hill, and then to the goal. That's a decent level I made up. It's pretty different than Sega the Sagas as well. Actually, I like seeing all that stuff too, but pretty good. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Here it comes. Now we have Beginner 8, Ramp Jump. Maybe that might be a different type of level design than Krabs' levels. Actually, I remember seeing some of these similar designs. Let's say you start right here on top of this platform. Then you go down the ramp, make jumps. I think the gaps are a little wide, but if you get enough speed to make your jumps, you can get to the goal easily. Well, I think that might be a good choice for me, but I just try to make it pretty unique. So far, I've been doing some other difficulties, but I'll get used to making some difficulty levels. So, that was a good level. Good job for me. Let's see what the next one is. Here it comes. Next up, we have Beginner 7, Rising Ramps. Oh my goodness, I like making that one, but pretty easy enough. First you start down here, then you go up the ramps, but there's a blue goal right there, and then there's a green goal right on top right there. Each of those two ramps, they may have some bumpers. Actually, I try to make that a little different at some point. So, that is pretty easy enough. Actually, pretty simple. I actually like that level too. I think there might be some more levels for you to look at. Let's see what else there is. Ready? Let's see. This time, our next level is Rough Road Ahead. Beginner 3. I think that one is a little different from Sega the Saga's Monkey Ball Dimensions Shattered Reality level, but I just made that up a little bit, but it's a little different. Instead of 4 mountains, there's 3 mountains. Actually, that one is a simple level for people to play. You start right here, and you go this way, and then turn right down the hill, and you go over the mountains. See how it looks? You have to go over the mountains and to the goal. Might be a couple of bunches of bananas on the top pyramids. I actually don't know where it looks, but I might play it a little bit, but that was pretty good, but yeah. Never mind, that was a pretty good level. let's move on and see what else they have here. What's your next level? The next one is 2 Dips, Beginner 2. I think this one pretty easy, but if you actually have enough speed, if you start here and try to get enough speed to go over the dip, it might be a little easy, but not that hard to make it through dips like that. I'm hoping to make that a little different from people. And there's a goal right there, if you had not noticed. Like I kept saying something about. There might be a bunch of bananas at the end. If you go through the goal and get the bunch. They're pretty decent levels I was making so far. So, pretty good job for me. Well, anyway, there's a couple more levels left, if I'm right. Let's find out. This is the very first beginner level. Like I said, there's a couple more levels I'm showing for the beginner section. So, beginner 1, up and down. So this one I think is a remake from one of Walkways levels. Say you start right here, then you go over the bridge, like you're going up and down the bridge. I bet I might be able to make it through that level easily. Might be some bananas on the bridge, and there's a goal right there, like I said. That was pretty easy. Actually, I made that one up. So, I think here comes the last one. Let's see what it looks like. Finally, we have Beginner 9, Wire Walkways. That one might be okay for people to play. Let's see, you start right here. Go on the wide wire. That's the... should be a bit easy to make it over the wires. These 2 circles right here, they have bunches of bananas. Each of those 3 wires, they have 2 bananas in that type of level. I would say start here and go over the wires as they get narrower. That one, pretty easy to get to the goal right over here. And I think that might be all the beginner levels I'm showing for this presentation for the Super Monkey Ball Dimensions Remastered, made by Brain. That's me. Anyway, thanks for watching this. Hope you give a like if you want to. And actually, there might be advanced coming up in the future, or in my next presentation. So, thank you for watching this. See you later. Goodbye.